You alright? You've caught me as well, like looking like an absolute dad today as well. I don't now just dress like this. It's just I've had a smarter day than usual. That's all. Welcome back. I think it's been something like 2 or 3 months now. It'll be like 3 months since we last uploaded a video. I've had videos recorded before my son was born. My son is now born. Max is his name. So everything's really good now. It's not been good. Oh my word. So I will stress everything, like I said, is good now. I just wanted to do before I edit the other videos I've already done and film any other videos. I wanted to do this just to explain what the crack is. Don't want to just jump back in uploading an old video as if nothing's happened. So I'd rather be honest, and I find it really hard to like put a face on. So if I were recording something else now and I hadn't made this video, then I would be off. So I'm going to explain. So throughout Francesca's pregnancy, from the start, for the first like half of her pregnancy, she was really ill. Like not just like morning sickness ill, like day in day out ill, to a point where she was like pretty much either sofa bound or bed bound most of the time. So I was obviously running around doing everything at the time, which was, end of the day, you take on that responsibility. It is what it is. You've got to do what you've got to do, but it's quite exhausting and it's hard to process everything. But she started getting better past the midway point, soldiered on, still filming content, still putting content out, luckily. Then near the end of the pregnancy we found out that Max was actually breech. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically his feet are facing down rather than his head, which is what it's meant to be. We actually have a feeling about what day that was, because we had to go into hospital because Cheska felt really off, and we think that like the pressure that he put on her turning round the wrong way like raised her blood pressure. So from that point on, for like a few months, her blood pressure was constantly like sky high and down and sky high and down. So loads of trips to the hospital, sat there till like 3 o'clock in the morning, getting readings, medication. Came to the conclusion that she's going to need to have a cesarean. So it was originally a planned cesarean. So when we made the plan with the doctor, it were actually set like it was under a week before her actual due date. So even though she was having all these complications, it was quite close to when she was meant to be giving birth that she was having the cesarean. But the complications obviously kept getting worse because he kept getting bigger, and her blood pressure kept going up again, and she ended up with preeclampsia, which I don't want to fully explain what that is in case I get it incorrect, but I think it's something to do with pressure of like on the wall of the womb, and you find certain proteins then in the blood which aren't meant to be there. And then she was getting worse and worse and worse to a point where it was like, right, you're in now. This were like a couple of weeks before the due date, I think. Might be wrong again, it's just such a blur. And they said, right, you're staying in now, this is it, within the next 2 or 3 days you're gonna have him. So that was that. She was in the hospital, I was coming home, being home on my own, worrying about her, going to work, coming home. Oh no, there were other nights where before then she was staying in and I was going to work, coming home. From this point it was like, right, I'm off now. And I was just at home pacing around doing bugger all, not watching anything on telly, just sat basically waiting for this to be sorted and him be here and be safe and Francesca be safe. So we had to go in on the Monday, which is when she stayed in. I think it was Wednesday we were told, right, this is probably going to be the day you're going to do it. So she was on the labour ward, I think it was, ready for when she was going to have the baby. All this time, bear in mind, I can only really go in an hour a day, and around that, waiting for her to say I can come in, or whether she would be moved or anything, I was just like sat in the car for hours. Or where that hospital is, there's if you know Sheffield, there's Western Park where the museum is. Just walking around that park waiting. And then on that Wednesday it was like, right, you're going to be in this afternoon, gonna have your baby today. She got changed in her gown ready, I got changed into scrubs ready, sat there, and the surgeon came up after hours, said somebody else has come in with an emergency, which fair enough, it's not going to be today. So we got back changed into his normal clothes. They said, there's no point in you actually sitting in this, waiting in this bed. You might as well go home and have one more night at home. So she's like, done. Francesca at this point, I'm done. She could barely sleep. I could barely sleep from worrying. Next day comes, back in the hospital. I had to wait again outside. Hours, having it. Right, surgery time. Go down. And by this point, because it had been so long of him being breech and having preeclampsia, that it had developed into something called HELLP syndrome, which is when basically like your liver and kidneys stop functioning 100% correctly. So that's pretty scary. So finally, he got down to theatre. Like took loads of attempts to find a vein for the drip and all that, because she'd had that many blood tests by now, like all the veins and everything was shot. But it happened. Got Max out, passed him over. I had him, and Jessica were like, I don't feel great, feeling quite sick. So they were giving her like sickness medication through a drip, and he just weren't budging. She was just getting more hazy and hazy. So we'll come out of surgery into like the room that's like after it, just to like check over, and she'll put on like the blood pressure medication that you have if obviously it's sky high, which it was again. It's just like the general one they use at first, and it weren't reacting very well. So you could see they were calling other doctors and specialists in and talking about stuff, not really directly to me but each other, just to try and figure out what's going off. But then obviously I've got this newborn child, feeding him, burping him, and my wife's like laid there unconscious. She could get a thumb up like that. They're asking if she's like questions and stuff, and it's like, that were it. That's all she could do. She made me promise whatever happened, if Max had to go anywhere, I'd stay with him. Which luckily he didn't go anywhere. He was fine. He stayed with us, because that would have been really difficult leaving her at that time. But obviously I'd promised that that's what I'd do. They managed to kind of like stabilise her, and then go into another room, which was like high, I say surveillance, but that sounds like a security thing. Like high alert, like constantly, like her blood pressure were being done hourly, and then she were still like sky high blood pressure for like 3 days, trying different stuff. It turns out the blood pressure medication she were on, she just weren't reacting very well to it, so they tried different medication to bring it down. But that first 3 days, the midwives were unbelievable. They were very supportive, especially with me, and we were like in a closed off curtained cubicle, and I was pretty much staying in with her the whole time, and Max in his little crib, and they were letting me stay in there as long as I were in there, which they didn't have to do that. Very generous of them. And for the first 3 days of him being born, Francesca don't remember. So his first feed, his first outfit, it's a photo that we had us three together. She don't remember it being taken. I've never seen my wife in such a bad state. It didn't even look like her. And the whole ordeal, like, absolutely traumatised me. Completely. Worrying about her, and then, like, working out how a nappy works. Does he need feeding? How much does he need to eat? How am I holding him? How am I dressing him? Can I leave him? Can I leave her? Obviously she'd had surgery as well, so she got like a big wound across the stomach, so she couldn't move, and especially with like that first 3 days being how she were like in and out of consciousness trying to eat food, and then she'd wake back up and her food's cold, so she weren't eating properly. And then after about a week or so of being in there and like helping her learn how to like get up and walk around again, we came home, which we had to put a banister up because she couldn't get upstairs still, and we actually lived in her mum and dad's for a few nights, which they really helped us. We were kind of like finally getting, not the hang of it, but let's like a grasp on reality of what's going off. And then after a few of Max's checkups, we saw they were losing weight, but because Francesca had been moving from different wards, she'd been, unfortunately at the time, the nurses didn't know that she'd been in the hospital for so long, so we were giving him feeds that were really small, like you were like a few days, like a day or two old. He weren't really having it, struggling to have it with these little teats. You can get these little bottles that are just like pre-made about that big, and the teats were like collapsing, so he weren't really getting any. Obviously we don't we were first time parents, we didn't know anything about that. So then we've gone through all that, and then the panic started again of like, he's losing weight, what are we doing here? And we had a couple of days of like proper sticking at it, trying different methods, trying different ways of preparing the formula, different teats, different bottles, different time frames, and oh dear, sorry. We've got this bug that's been going around lately as well, to top it off. But yeah, now he were like £6 odd, went down to 5 something, and then now he's like £12. So he's like proper grown. But after a really hard start, Francesca's like up on her feet. There's not really anything she can't do now. Max is brilliant. He's got such a good routine, sleeping longer through the night. He drinks loads. He drinks like bottles that are like half the size of him. He's having like 190ml, which it's hard to concept that if you ain't got a baby. It's a lot. It's a lot of milk. But yeah, I just wanted to explain why, even though I said I already have videos recorded, I haven't done anything. A lot of it as well has just been, yeah, not finding any time, but it being the last thing on my mind, and I'm sure you can appreciate that. It's like, do I edit a video, or do I have 5 hours sleep instead of 3 hours sleep? You know what I mean? And I weren't really going to talk about it, but I feel like it might be helpful for other people. But the first few nights, the first couple of weeks of being back at home with him, and Francesca still healing, and me being like up with him in the middle of the night, crying his eyes out, I was in a really negative place, because I felt like I lost my wife for like nearly a year, and I was coming home from work and hearing him like crying inside, and just like standing at the door like, I don't want to go in, which sounds horrendous, sounds really bad, but as much as mums can have a rough time and then have postnatal depression, men can deal with that as well, or some form of that. And it took a lot for me to speak to somebody about it, but I didn't feel how I feel like I was supposed to feel about him at first. And I thought, I'm never going to get past that, really, because this is it, this is how I feel. I don't feel like that now. I love him to bits. I look forward to seeing him, I look forward to holding him. But if you feel like that first bit of time, you don't feel like that, 1, you're not on your own, and 2, it's not natural either. I find it hard to separate him from all the badness that came from the situation, which obviously I knew for a fact it weren't his fault. It's never the baby's fault, is it? But yeah, everything's cool, sleep's still limited, house is a mess, but we're happy, and that's the main thing, and we got through it all. But channel related, the Type R is still in my possession. I'm not got rid now that I'm a family man. We've still got the diesel for now. Possibly looking at something else, don't know. Something a bit bigger, probably. Like I said, I've still got videos recorded, so I'm going to try and knuckle down with those now and try and like set a routine to find the time to do that and get them on. Now that I've done this video and kind of like got back into the groove of it. Got some parts already sent by companies, and some companies that I've been speaking to that are possibilities in future as well, so there's definitely content ahead. Christmas is coming soon, that's mad, and I'm feeling like I'm looking forward to coming out of this hibernation hole of being a recluse again and just trying to get back on the horse, shall we say, as well as like really appreciating the simple things, which I've definitely been doing recently. Because yeah, going from like the thought of I might be doing this on my own, I might be coming out with just my son, to this situation now is like a proper like shock to the system in terms of reality check. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying just sitting and watching a bit of telly with my family for a change. Anyway, I can hear him whining. Might get him. Shall I get him? 1 minute. Right, we were a bit moody last night, so I've caught him now before we put him down for bed. He's got a bit of hiccups, but you're okay, aren't you, mister? You're looking at camera now. So yeah, thank you for everybody that's been supportive in this time period, that's messaged me and stuff and checked how I'm doing. Don't feel bad if you hadn't, because obviously you didn't know about any of this going off. It's alright, I'll pop you down soon, buddy. You're okay. But another thing I wanted to mention is thank you for getting me to 7,500, which sounds like an odd number to thank you for, but to me I see it as that's 3/4 of the way to 10k, and that's mad. I can't believe that. So thank you all so much, and for your patience as well. Are you watching Bake Off? Is that what it is? That is a weird lasagna. I don't like that either. No lasagna. They don't do lasagna, it's Bake Off. Anyway, are we going to say bye and thank you all for watching? Until next time, what do you say? Hey, enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, see you later. Bye bye.